Good afternoon. This is Reading for Charity again, and with another review in this big, massive backlog we've got, The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch, which is the conclusion of the Gentleman B Word trilogy. Let's not swear again. Um, it's possibly continues. May or may not continue. I don't know if he's writing another one or not. I know there's a few short stories with Loch Lamora, but I don't know if Scott Lynch is planning on writing any more. We'll see. The Republic of Thieves basically picks up again straight after the conclusion of Rescues Under Red Skies, and it's where Locke is dying from the hideous poison that he's been injected with, and Jean is charged with saving him. Now, I think this book is probably the best of the three. I think it probably is the best of the three. In that the Bonds mages actually in this, which was the natural conclusion of the stories. The Bond mages are becoming more and more important through the series, and the final book, well, the third book. I don't know if it's the final book. The third book being all about the Bonds mages were always going to be a part of it. I think the Bonds magi, I should say, Bonds mages. So the third book, not to spoil it for anything else, is to do with basically Locke and Jean, however we're pronouncing his name today, get brought to the Bondsmage city. Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. Carthane. To rig an election, and in exchange for this, they cure Locke. So fine, Locke gets cured, yada yada yada, and they get shipped off to Carthane to rig the election. Fine. It's going to be one of those ones that's going to be full of intrigue and, setting people up, blackmailing them to get the election sorted. It's like, looking forward to this. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be political intrigue rather than cons. It's going to be a really, really nice change of pace. And then Sabitha turns up, who has been mentioned repeatedly in the books as Locke's, great love, but hasn't actually been seen in the books. And then she appears, and it's the kind of the playoff of Locke and the only person who might beat him. Dum dum dum. It's the Sherlock Holmes versus the woman. What's her name? I can't remember what the woman's real name is in Sherlock Holmes. That's terrible. It's that kind of deal that they've got going. One is doing it because he loves the con, because he has to, because he's making it up to his god and the rest of his gang, yada yada yada, and the Sabbath who's doing it just for the hell of it because she loves doing it. And that's basically the setup. And when you kind of get to that point, you're like, and it's stopped being about the intrigue. It's stopped being about the blackmail and the awesomeness that the book could have been, and it's all back to being vaguely soap opera-ish between Locke and Sabitha, and Jean being the third wheel. And he very much third wheels his way around the place. He's kind of standing in the side while Locke and Sabitha are talking. He's like dum 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 dum. You can see him just bringing out a book and reading while those two are getting on with it. He very much third wheels his way around this. And the book takes another flip turn where the two of them basically make a deal to work together, to rig the election, but in the way that they want it to be rigged, and that's awesome and that's cool. And then I don't want to say what the twist is, because the twist is a little bit disappointing. It stops Locke being as special as he is because he's brave and he's clever, and he's got all the skills, he's got the talents, he's got the intelligence, he's got all the things that he needs to be charismatic, and that's why he's good at being a thief and a con man, etc. No. The twist is that he is special in a completely different way that's important to the Bonds Magi. I'm not going to give away the twist. But I read that and I went, oh, come on, no, that's so annoying. Um, and if it wasn't for that twist, I really would have enjoyed this book. I really would have loved it an awful lot more than when without the twist. I think the twist is completely pointless, but it does. It's a little bit like the end of Red Season, the Red Skies, where it sets up for the third book. That feels like it's setting it up for a fourth book and kind of changing. The longer the series goes on, the less Locke is the con man and thief that he is of the first book, and the more he's turning into a straight up adventurer destined for great things. You know, he is the special one who will stop the oncoming darkness kind of style. That's it's trending more towards generic fantasy, I feel, at this point, and away from what made the Lies of Locke more excellent in the first place. I also think this is the weakest of the world building in the books. The Bonds Magi, you know, they all get scaled down with power ridiculously in this book. Otherwise, you know, Carthing should be just a smoking hole in the ground. It should have been pugged into oblivion. And if you don't get that reference, you'll get it after you see my magician review. The Carthing should be pugged into a black hole in the ground, and the fact it's not is the fact that Scott Lynch has had to just pull them so far back from the power levels they have in the previous two books, which is also annoying and irritating because, you know, he's having to walk some of the things back that he's done before. But yes, right, so almost 7 minutes, so I'll do the next bit. So, Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch. Should you read this book? If you're reading the rest of the books, yes, you definitely should. Should you read this as a standalone? No. You need to know a lot more about the previous two books, especially Locke's history, because Sabbatha doesn't make much sense if you don't know Locke's history, and the issues with Locke dying and John trying to save him is kind of necessary from Red Season to Red Skies. So you really do kind of need to have read the previous two for this one to make as much sense as it probably could do. But it's a good book. I think the plot's the best of the three because it's not the silly idiot ballness of the first book, and it's not the straight up Ocean's 11 ripoff of the second book. This one's actually more original, I think, and well thought out and well written. It's just that the twist is annoying me. The twist really, really annoys me. But hey, it is what it is. So yeah, read the book. It's good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It's good fantasy. It's much less turgid than a lot of the fantasy. It's stopped being low fantasy though. It's very, very much switching to high fantasy and getting more high fantasy as it goes on. The Elder Stone crowd. If there's another Locke Lamora book, I'm almost positive that they will start making an appearance. And at that point, I think it starts sounding an awful lot more like the Evolutionary Void Peter F. Hamilton stuff with the way that's written. I think that's the direction he's going. I think Scott Lynch read those books and went, ooh, that's good. Let's move on towards that. We'll see. But yeah, good book. I enjoyed it. The whole of the Locke Lamora trilogy is great, but with loads of caveats around plot, mostly plot. I think that's his biggest issue, the Scott Lynch. His world building is great, his characterization is great, his dialogue's lovely, but his plotting is patchy. It's inconsistent, definitely, through the three books. But it is what it is. Anyway, next up will be Dreams of Steel, which is continuing on the Glenn Cook books, the Black Company stuff. That'll be the next one review in 5 minutes once I found the JPEG. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Reading for Charity, and good afternoon.